Good evening, everybody. 19th hole is back, live as always. For the 19th hole, make sure you like and subscribe, set notifications. We're getting into the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines this week. It's the first actual test of championship golf on the PGA Tour schedule. No more birdie fests, no more long shots. Let's get going. All right, here we are again, Connor. This time it's a real venue with real teeth, long golf course. We got some good golfers in the mix. All of our loonies are here. Connor, how you feeling about the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines? And he's muted. Love the start, Connor. He's on a roll here.
I think honestly, you've got to send me a message when we go dual screen and go, "Hey, dumbass, unmute."
Everybody in the chat just rained down mercilessly on Connor for muting the very start of his dialogue here. Dee Dee's already laughing at you down there at the lake house in SoCal. She's actually probably not too far of a drive, maybe an hour or two from within distance of Torrey Pines. I mean, it must really suck to have perfect weather every day, right?
I was hoping you were going to say within a couple hours of you, so she just drive over there and smack you over the side of the head. But
no, I'm a good 5-6 hours from SoCal, so it's California is gigantic. People don't realize how much driving time it takes to cross this gigantic state. It's not Texas, but it's like half of Texas. So yeah, it's not going to take 2 days to cross California, but it'll take you a whole day.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot longer than I thought it was. I've driven that Sacramento all the way down to San Diego before. It's not quick.
Woof.
Yeah. Yep. But no, what I was trying to say while I was muted, which is actually the best audio version of me, I'm excited to be on a real course, a real test. Maybe eliminate some of this oddball long shot stuff and see
3 in a row already.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I don't think anybody probably saw Dunlap coming last week. I mean, that's nuts, and props to him. I mean,
props for sure. I mean, 20 years old, sophomore at Alabama, the only amateur in the competitive field. That's insanity. Like, some of these tournaments will have multiple amateurs, and one might rise to the top and contend for a while, but then the pressure buckles them. And he started off pretty shaky on Sunday. Then he pulled it back together because everybody else was shaky trying to chase him down. Unbelievable finish for a guy. He's still taking undergrad work at Alabama. Like, this guy's going to turn pro in the next 12 months and make way more money than you and I will ever see. And this guy's already a PGA Tour winner at 20 years old. I can't believe it. It was pretty amazing.
How would you feel though if you won? As him, you win and you don't get to touch any of that money. Obviously it's still
that's the amateur rules are kind of outdated still, but at least on the bright side, he can use that to turn into NIL money while he's at Alabama, and so he's going to get some deals out of this. It might not amount to $1.4 million, but he might be able to approach that or pass it up depending on what he gets for being the first amateur winner on the PGA Tour since Phil Mickelson in 1991. I mean, and Mickelson is one of the prodigies of all prodigies in the history of golf. Like, there's Bobby Jones, there's Tiger Woods, and there's Phil Mickelson. Those are the prodigies that we've had in our sport. And like, Nick Dunlap might be the type of prodigy. He's only 20. He's got the whole future ahead of him. But to stare down some of those golfers and win is outright impressive. Like, you'll never be able to take that away from him, regardless of whether he can cash the check or not.
Yeah, and it's definitely nice to see a lot of these young guns coming up too. I mean, there's so much talent waiting to get on tour, waiting to get going. And
Right.
for every one of these big shots that leaves to go play on live, we're replenishing the well with even better youth. So it's
The future of competitive golf is as bright as it's ever been, and that's completely in spite of competing tours, which I don't even think will be competing against one another in the next couple of years. But for right now, everybody's like, "Oh no, what about Live Tour?" I was like, "Well, regardless of which tour these guys decide to play for, there's so much talent at the top of this game that I don't think it matters. It honestly does not matter anymore which tour these guys are playing for. The level of competition and play is better than it's ever been, and it's not even close, really. Like we're talking about guys that are ranked 200th in the world that could go out and win a tournament. Like that's what Grayson Murray did a couple weeks ago. It's insane.
It feels like the young guys too are just super well rounded, which is a little bit different. Like from years, like the last probably decade of golf, you get people that come out and they're just technicians at certain parts of the game, but all these young dudes just seem to have it all going. And God help some of these older guys because I think they're in for
They're
reckoning.
holding their own though. I mean, it's just more even. Like the advantage to being experienced is there, but the talent and the athleticism and just the sheer ability of these younger guys is way more than it's ever been. Especially back like when we were growing up, it was Tiger and Phil, and then a bunch of guys, and then there was a little bit of David Duval sprinkled in. You had Ernie Els and VJ Singh made some noise, but they were never on the same level as Phil, and they were definitely not even close to the level that Tiger was on for a 15-year stretch. And now there's guys out here that are winning as amateurs in college. It's unbelievable. And Torrey Pines, even though Dunlap already pulled out of the Farmers because he's too busy partying in Tuscaloosa, which was exactly what I would do if I won a PGA Tour event as a college student. I mean, the dude can't even legally drink yet. What's going on here?
Legal or not, he's raising a glass, no doubt about
it. For sure. In Tuscaloosa, he's not gonna have to buy a drink anywhere in that state for any amount of time.
Probably never. Speaking of glasses,
Torrey Pines. I brought out some good stuff because this is one of my favorite golf courses in the entire world. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, period. Like if you're just looking for scenery, Torrey Pines State Park is breathtaking. It will change your life to just sit there and look at the ocean. It's that beautiful. So Torrey Pines means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to you, Connor. The Farmers Insurance Open is the only non-major that we get to see Torrey Pines, but at least we get to see it every year.
You ever played down there?
I wish.
Well, I mean, you're a California guy. I never know where you've been and what you've done.
Yeah, I haven't played there, but I've been there, and it's just unbelievable. This North Course for how much the people are saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like both these courses can do some things. Obviously the South is the crown jewel there, but the whole property's insane.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
What are you sipping on?
I've been there, but I am pulling out an older staple, just some Woodford Reserve. It's been a long time since I've had the warm embrace of the Woodford. So, and it's funny, I was telling you that story beforehand. I'm out buying really classy Boda Box wine and turned and saw this on an end cap, and I was like, you know what I haven't had in a long time is Woodford. So, but yeah. I don't remember it being this citrusy, and I definitely don't remember so much cinnamon, but it is really, really tasty stuff, and I think I got to put it back into heavy rotation.
I haven't had regular Woodford in forever, but the double oaked is one of my go-tos. Like every night, double oaked gets a little sip on. Tonight, I went with finishing off a bottle of Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. There you go. One of the best bourbons out there in existence. Usually $50-$60 depending on if you can find it at all. This used to be a $30 bottle and now it's allocated. So if you find it and it's under $70, you should probably buy it. It's that good. 100 proof, just Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, 7 years old. It's a good daily if you got a little bit extra coin, like if you're richer than me and you're not gonna have to wait to buy another bottle now that you finished this one off. I'm a little sad. But cheers to you, Connor.
Hey, cheers to you, sir. That's a good bottle.
Yeah, inflation got us again, Ostradamus.
It's a bitch, man. That allocated stuff just keeps on climbing.
Yeah, some of the allocations go to California, which is nice. So you get a lot of Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare that some other states don't get. But we don't get any Weller. We don't get any Pappy. Like none of that gets anywhere near California. But that's you gotta get what you can get.
Believe it or not, South Dakota, we get plenty of all of that. Like Weller actually is not that tough to come by any variety of it out here. But
hate you.
But I mean, it's weird though. Certain stuff like I don't think I've seen that Heaven Hill bottle out here maybe ever. So it's just real hit and miss.
Weird how it goes.
But yeah, Weller, I get plenty of Weller.
You'll have to ship me some. Of course, completely under the table. And nobody on YouTube should report this, that somebody in South Dakota is going to ship me a bottle of bourbon in California. That's not going to actually happen.
No, we're just saying it'd be nice if we could. So, I mean, underage drinking and illegal shipping of booze, it's not
we're off to a rip-roaring start in 11 minutes.
not what we're about here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's get to the caddy notes because we have a lot to cover. This tournament is a little bit interesting. It's got some wrinkles to it, and it's brutally difficult compared to the first three tournaments of the season. So I'm ready. Let's hit the drop for caddy notes. Of course, Caddy Notes is where Connor will wax poetically about both the North Course at Torrey Pines and the vaunted South Course, which is a monster. We're talking monstrous course with incredible difficulty. You love to see it. I want to see some moderate scoring, not just birdies and eagles barraging like last week at the American Express. I hated that. I can't watch that on TV. It's like, yeah, everybody's making birdies and eagles. It's not that much fun to watch. It honestly isn't. I like when there's some conflict. I like when there's some added pressure of like, oh crap, he made a bogey and I have a putt for 16 feet for a birdie. It's a 2-shot swing. That like we don't get 2-shot swings on these resort type courses. And on Torrey Pines, we're going to see some big swings because there's some doubles to get out here. There are some birdie holes. Eagles, maybe every once in a while, maybe a couple guys will eagle a par 5 each day of this tournament, which starts tomorrow, by the way, Connor.
Yeah, urgently.
We are the last word in golf betting and DFS before lock tomorrow morning.
That's actually true. So all of our listeners get to get an edge, maybe, hopefully.
That last word.
Hopefully.
Movies are riveted by they're about to get their mind blown though.
I'm gonna Google what vaunted means when we get done. I'm wasn't real sure about that word, so that was a new one.
What about lauded? It's a very lauded event.
I really don't like what you're doing right now. So Farmers Insurance Open in San Diego,
La Jolla.
In La Jolla specifically. The two courses in play this week are the North and South course at Torrey Pines. Top 65 and ties are going to make it through the cut. As Bo alluded to, it starts tomorrow. So we're going to get one day at the North, one day at the South for every guy. And then we're going to switch to the South for a weekend. So Friday and Saturday, trying to get it in before the NFL conference games. Mm-hmm. Both are par 72s. Like Bo talked about, the South is significantly harder. It's hosted an Open. It's probably in the top, I'd say, 5 most difficult courses on tour.
Mm-hmm.
The north is going to run 7,258 yards. South is going to run 7,765. So considerably longer.
It's a whopper.
Long. You've got Kikuya fairways. You've got Poana greens on the south. I believe it's Bermuda still, or I'm sorry, Bent still on the north with a little bit of.
It's a Po blend, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you get a little bit of blended. The south, you're going to have a lot of cliffside. You're going to have a couple of holes with water in play, plenty of bunkers all over this place. The 18th is kind of tough.
Nasty.
Got a pond right in front of the 18th. All the greens here are tricky at minimum. Very narrow fairways, very tight approaches. The rough is going to be up. Everything about this place.
Oak trees everywhere.
You've got canyons and native areas.
Yeah,
it's
all just kind of contoured along the jutting cliffs. Like we're talking trees and golf course, and then 100-foot cliff into the Pacific Ocean. That's where this golf course is. It is amazing television. If you have a nice big HD TV or you find a bar that has one of those, tune in to watch this tournament just for the scenery. This place is, like I said before, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and they're playing golf on it on a spectacular golf course. The South Course is, I would say, a top 3 of my favorite courses in the entire world. That's how good this course is, and that's how much of a test these 156 guys are under for 3 days out of the 4. It's going to be unbelievable television.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's a ton of risk versus reward. A lot of difficult shots that you're going to see. A lot of beautiful scenic overlooks. It's hands down one of my favorite courses as well. And the other thing too that we're kind of getting blessed with is it looks like the weather is going to be pretty good. It looks like we're going to have really mild temps.
San Diego, they had some rain yesterday and some fog this morning, and that's about it. That's as much weather as you're going to get in an entire calendar year in San Diego. We're talking low 70s and sunny with a light breeze out of the west every single day of the year. And this is just going to be one of those days, 4 of those days.
No, it totally is. And I think with the cooler temperatures too, it's not going to dry out quite as bad possibly. So there's going to be some distance players in play for sure, I think. And getting back to the weather just briefly, like the only thing that can happen occasionally is you can get some gusts in that 10 to 15 mile an hour range, but really that's going to be the least of the concern. And it looks like maybe only Friday is going to be even approaching that. And it's only for maybe half the day. So it's going to be pretty much wide open, which doesn't mean anything. This course will still get its teeth in you. So
yeah, this course will allow only the best and the sharpest to rise to the top. And the wind won't change any of that because the course is hard enough as it is.
I would say the winning score probably is going to be somewhere in that 13-15 range, somewhere in there. That's historically about where it ends up. Cut line's probably going to be around 2 under, 3 under, somewhere in that range. What else do we know about this? Tends to be a sticky stat with players that have experience here and have done well here, tend to continue to do well here. So your previous winners, you're looking at Max Homa at 13 under, Luke List at 15 under the year before that, who beat Willie Z in a playoff. And then Patrick Reed.
We're going to talk about that a lot here.
I think we are tonight, because I actually like both of them, and I think you're probably only liking one of them. And then you got Patrick Reed, and the only reason that Patrick Reed actually probably needs to be mentioned is he did it pretty differently than the other guys. Like Patrick Reed was almost entirely like grinded out around the green type of game.
He was throwing darts that whole week. Like we're talking some of those masterful long iron approaches you've ever seen was when Reed won.
Yeah, but when he was missing though, he wasn't losing anything on around the green, and he wasn't missing many putts. And that's
how many chip-ins he had. So many chip-ins that week, just completely unbelievable play.
And that's I think that's kind of a critical stat that we don't normally get super into, is the around the green game this week.
Yes. That's what I love about this tournament. Short game matters here.
All of it matters. I mean, like the whole
all of it.
The whole game matters, but specifically, you need guys that are handy with wedges, and not just handy from wedges from that 100 and 125 bucket we talk about.
Chipping and pitching and sand play, your strokes gained around the green stat on courses of 7,400 or longer, that was my heaviest weighted stat in the whole model that I had. And that was 20%. I weighted it super heavy because I knew that these guys are not going to be able to avoid bogeys and make birdies on par fives without an elite short game week.
Yes.
Yes, he agrees. Yeah, but like you said, the entire golf bag is going to be needed in this tournament. Both of these courses really do demand an all-around game from you, because if you're saying, oh, the North course is so much easier and so much shorter. Yeah, but if you don't score well in your one round on Wednesday or Thursday at the North course, you are absolutely out of it. You cannot win this tournament with a poor showing on the North course. Yeah, because the guys who win this tournament at 12, 13 under, they shot 6 or 7 under at the North course. And the rest of the 3 rounds were grinding out 69, 70 scores on the South course, because that's an amazing score on the South course is sub 70.
And the bogey avoidance is massive. Like, you, especially on the South, like, you cannot be given strokes back. Like, par is a great score on a lot of these holes.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really nice to be getting back to a tournament that, again, is not going to be a birdie fest. Is going to be about really well-rounded, all-around golf play. Like, every single shot matters. Every single position matters. This is going to be a super fun watch.
This is good as it gets for me. This is the pinnacle of golf entertainment. Let's bet on it. Since we're going to be so entertained, let's throw some skin in the game and hit the club twirls. All right, Club Twirls is where we bet on golf. We bet on winners, top 5, top 10, top 20, top 40, cuts made. We'll bet on your mom if she's at the tournament, see which player is going to score the lowest. As always, gamble responsibly, whether you're playing a wagering game or anything that risks your hard-earned money for a game of chance. Make sure you're responsible about it. We're going to help you with that, because we've been cashing some top 5s and top 10s, even though we haven't called any of the 3 long shots this season. We're still making money each week with our bets. Connor, this is tricky because the top 3 guys in my model are the 3 guys with the shortest odds. And the 4 guys with the shortest odds are all from Southern California. They've all done well at this tournament. And they're all kind of crunched in there between 9-1 and 12-1. What the hell are we going to do? Because we can't bet on all 4 of those guys. We can't. That'd be dumb.
No, just bet on your mom.
Yeah. She's reliable.
Yeah, I mean, so far tonight we got underage drinking, shipping of booze, and betting on moms. So we are crushing.
Hey.
How many?
This is the best show we've ever had.
We are in form. What do we do? So what you do is you bet Collin Morikawa. That's what you do.
Thank you. Hey, Connor and I agree. Cheers to you again. Salud, Collin Morikawa. 12-1. He did briefly drop to 11-1, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but you just wait and see. If it gets shorter, you continue to hold off on him. But if he goes back to 12 like he did today, you bet on him. And if he slips farther than 12, you bet more on him, because this guy is as elite as it gets with a long iron, mid iron, anything that deals with approach and making birdies or better. Collin Morikawa is your boy, because the dude makes tons and tons and tons of birdies because he's as good on approach as it gets. The iron play speaks for itself. He's also great around the green. His putting has kind of held him back in recent times, but the recent form we've seen from Morikawa says that his putting's just fine. He was just in a cold streak for about 6 months last year, which prevented him from winning, but he's back. The Colin Morikawa, the last 24 rounds putting is actually really good. Top 60 in this field. Short game, top 40. Ball striking, top 5. 12-1 for a guy like that. Don't have to sell me any farther, Connor. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add is all the stats you just alluded to, 100%. The putting. What's interesting about the putting is that it has somewhat leveled back out.
Right, it's so nice.
It's not great. It's not great, but it's not horrid. Like there was a period of time, just a quick 6 months, as Bo alluded to.
It felt like forever. This hard hitting analysis is the why you should like and subscribe for this show alone, because the putting was good on birdie putts. I think he was having trouble avoiding bogeys for a while there because of his putter, which is the opposite of Scotty. Scotty, it prevented him from making birdies. It didn't stop Colin Morikawa from making birdies. He was making birdie putts, but if he was 40 feet away, he was making a lot of 3 putts, and that's where he was getting into trouble. Is when he wasn't on close approach like he usually is. That was when he was struggling and not winning tournaments. I think those days are way behind him now, because of what we've seen of him the last 4 months is as good as it gets in the world. And he loves this place. He loves Torrey Pines.
The bogey avoidance piece was actually where I was going with the putting stat. The putting stat coming back in line.
We're on the same page.
Over the last 24, Colin Morikawa is number 1 in this field for bogey avoidance, and we don't have.
Oh, is that good? That sounds good. It sounds
pretty decent. It's better than good. It's great. And with that being said, I mean, this field is not a bunch of slouches. Truly is not. So for him to be number 1, avoiding big numbers, having the putter flatten back out a little bit for him, excellent long iron player, has an adequate enough wedge and short game to get up and down. This really, really sets up nicely for a guy who knows his way around here. So
my favorite thing about Morikawa this week has to be that the only really birdie holes on this course are the par 5s on the South course, at least. The par 4s are so tough. The par 3s are even tougher on the South course. The par 5s are really the only real birdie opportunities on the South course. And Colin Morikawa annihilates par 5s. This guy is he takes par 5s and he just tears them apart. And he is going to do that here. And as long as he can keep around even on those tough holes, his birdie making ability, especially on scoring holes, is next to none.
And we talked about course history here. Colin Morikawa's got a 3rd, a 21st, and a 4th here. And then on top of that, Morikawa in his last 3 starts just on the tour, a 5th, a 6th, and a win. So we have good form. Yeah. We have all the faulty parts of his game coming back together at a place that he plays well and knows well. It just all signs point to Colin Morikawa.
And Xander, I love Xander. He was my one and done pick on the Betting Pros show with Pat Fitzmaurice. He is my top guy in DFS just because he makes a lot of birdies too. But his odds at 9-1, when I hold him pretty equal to Colin this week, means that I'm going to go for the guy who's going to pay me more in the event that he wins. Honestly, that's the separator for me, is the odds are better to bet on Colin Morikawa. And if I consider those two guys to be equal, that's where I separate them. But I don't fault anybody for betting Xander this week, because the guy is off the charts good in every metric that we're looking for. We got Sean Coughlin, must be a relation to you.
His relation, but I had to answer that
and
question.
Kerry Coughlin. Oh my God, we got half of the state of Kerry over here. The county the county of Kerry, Ireland is represented well here.
Since you never give me any credit for how cool this hat is, since it got asked. The Augusta.
Is that the Mickey's hat?
That's Augusta Green Jackets, man.
Oh, the minor league baseball team. That's tits right there. That's incredible. It looks like Charlotte Hornets, but it's not the same head. And then I was like, is that the Mickey's malt liquor one? No, it's a little different there. That's pretty cool. Augusta Green Jackets, one of the elite minor league club.
But yeah, join the hive, man. They keep sending me emails every day. They need more fans, apparently.
I'll take that hat. That's a sharp hat.
I got a couple of them. They're sweet. Anyways, So I got
off the rails.
We're off the rails. Of course we are. So you were talking about Xander though, yeah?
Yeah, I was just looking for a little bit of approval on Xander as a top 4 option that I wouldn't fault anybody for betting on. But Colin having the better odds, the better payout odds, kind of was the tiebreaker for me. But I think we're going to talk a lot about Xander and DFS. But you also have Cantlay, his recent form hasn't been that good, and so I'm looking at it going, why would I want to bet on him when, even though he's done great here, he's another SoCal guy. He hasn't been that sharp lately. Like we're not
Really
the approach game. The approach game isn't there, and obviously his short game is world class, but his putting has been kind of average. It doesn't look like the same Patrick Cantlay to me the last couple months, and I want to see sharp Cantlay.
So has he done that great here? I mean, I think the last start here he missed.
He's a top 10 machine, but we expect more out of a guy with 11-1 odds.
Absolutely. And the only thing that I'll say about Patrick Cantlay here that might make some sense is that Mr. Consistency, which he typically is, if all we're looking for is slow played, calculated pars, that is Cantlay.
And that's why he does well here.
So
because if you get into those tough conditions, I mean, who else are you going to lean on as a guy that's as consistent as it gets, no matter how tough the course is?
I'm going to take a pass on him. I'm just saying I can see why somebody would. I mean,
I started off loving him along with Xander, and then just kind of as I kept doing more and more research, boiling it down more, I boiled this sucker down to a syrup this week because I'm so in tune with how I want to bet this event that Cantlay just kept tumbling down. Like he went from number 1 to number 4. Now he's outside of my top 10 overall. And that should tell you everything you need to know about just running these numbers and figuring out what I actually want to bet on compared to where the lines are. And Cantlay is just too short this week. 11-1. We'd be pissed off if he was at the Century at 11-1.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I will say he rated out better for me than he did for you, but it's completely like top 30 stats. It's not like he's like in the top 10 for anything. It's not like there's any standout. It's really short considering the form, considering the guys around him. So, and also I just don't like Patrick Cantlay, so we can talk about that.
I don't mind him. I admire how just unflappable he is while playing. Like that appeals to me as a player. Like just watching a dude just laser focused all the way through. I don't really care pace of play because all these pros are slow. All these pros are slow, and I don't blame them one bit because every shot they hit is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it makes a lot of sense that a guy who is a little bit slower paced than the average PGA Tour golfer, they're all very slow compared to your weekend golfer. And that's what I'm getting at is all these pros are playing slowly. Every single one. They're just, some are less slow. And so for me, I don't care about Cantlay. Cantlay's awesome. I'm having a hard time going against the current on Max Homa. He's the defending champion here. But it's like everybody wants to bet Max Homa. He's likable. He's the defending champion here. But for me, it's like I don't want to play the same guy everybody else is playing. And he ranked 3rd in my model, and I'm looking at it going, what's wrong with Max Homa? Well, nothing's wrong with him. I just prefer Colin this week.
So I think you got to make a decision at the top if you're going to play Morikawa or you're going to play Homa. They're right there, the same odds. I don't know about you. I'm not independently wealthy, so I can't be just throwing all kinds of short odd bets out there. But
even if you were wealthy, it would be not very smart.
Well, I just bet everybody then, which is what we do.
I can't lose.
Look at me.
And you still wouldn't have had Nick Dunlap last week.
That's no bullshit. I would have never got there. So with
that's
Max,
how non-chance that you would have is betting everybody. You still would somehow not bet on the only amateur in the field and lose out last.
And normally I'm the one that is betting that bullshit. Like I'm normally the one that's like,
I know.
500-1, I'm in. With Homa though, to get to the point, with Homa, I think the reason that I'm leaning towards maybe he's going to end up being a good play. Is it's not that I feel like he's in incredibly great form, but in his last start, he lost almost 6 strokes putting.
Oof. That's
incredibly
bad.
uncharacteristic of Homa.
Right? He's usually so good.
And if he had just been flat with the putter that week, he would have won the Century. Like, would have no problem.
Piece of cake. The way he was striking the ball that week was insane.
So if you look at that, and then you look at him getting somewhere where he's comfortable, he's played well, obviously defending champion. His best putting surface is POA. So
us California boys, we know that bumpy shit is actually pretty reliable. If you have the aim small, miss small mentality, that's what we chant that in our sleep as California golfers, because you can't trust that lie is going to be flat. Like, it's not bent grass by any stretch. It's not even Bermuda. Bermuda gets kind of bumpy. POA gets super bumpy. We're talking as it gets crusty later in the day, it dries out. It gets these weird fibers that jut out, all weird, and then everything you putt wobbles.
Well, and it also grows with the sun, so you get funky angles and funky growth patterns.
But that's almost makes it easier to read. Like, if you're used to that grass, you can tell where the grain is moving a lot easier. Like, Bermuda is known for its grain being stiff, but it's hard to read. If you've putted on Poana before, you can actually kind of read which way the grass is going to guide the ball. And even though it might wobble all the way there, the lines are true. And it's tricky for somebody who grows up on Bermuda or bent grass to figure it out. It takes them a while. And that's why some of the East Coasters that have done well here continue to do well here, because they're surface proof. And some of the other guys are like, we can't figure out how to putt at Riviera and Torrey Pines because this Poana stuff is crazy. It's the weirdest grass.
So all of that to say that I can't blame somebody
Max Homa
for wanting to bet or play Max Homa. I can't get off of Morikawa. So that's going to be my top play there. We should probably start moving down the board a smidge.
Yeah, I'm looking at this next group of guys, and I want you to make a choice, because there's 2 guys that are too short for me and 2 guys that are in the proper place in this 20s range. I think Minwoo and Tony Finau are much too short for what they are. Like, I love Minwoo as a golfer. He's going to be a DFS staple in my pool, but he's not a 20-1 at the Farmers golfer yet. He's not there yet. And although he does fit the course relatively well, I don't know that he's the type of guy who can win here. Tony Finau was at 35-1 yesterday. He's all the way to 22-1. He's had tons of success here too. But at that line, I'm going to join Connor and say, no, thank you, Tony Finau. That's a terrible bet. This guy isn't going to win this tournament.
Dude, I don't know that he's going to even sniff winning a tournament this year. Like, honest to God, with Tony Finau,
the way he's putting, it's atrocious.
This is not my bias. We all know I hate Tony Finau, the golfer, not the man. Great dude.
You can't even spell his name right.
No, it's unimportant to me. But his
autocorrect changes Finau to Finua.
It does. Yeah. That's how infrequent.
So we just let it go. I've just accepted that he's going to say Tony Finua no matter how many times we mention him.
That's how infrequently I type his damn name, because I never buy into the hype.
Well, this isn't the Rocket Mortgage, so I'm not betting on Tony Finau.
Yeah, so realistically, the Tony Finau narrative that's going to get thrown around is good course history, very consistent driver of the golf ball, very
recent form atrocious.
Recent form is god awful, and all those stats that people are throwing around the internet right now talking about how good Tony Finau sets up. Yeah, maybe 2020 or
right. That's the thing is everybody's making him out to be this birdie making machine, which, like you said, 3-4 years ago he absolutely was. This year he's 40th in this field and birdies are better gained. That's not going to cut it if you're going to put weight on that stat, which I did. Birdies are better gained here is essential because there's not that many to be gained. So if you're converting on your very few chances, I want a guy like Morikawa who's just out automatic in those situations. And Finau's putter is so bad that his birdies are better gained has plummeted from a top 5 lock to barely even in that top tier.
We don't need to belabor the point, because if people are here listening to us, they've heard us before. They know that it doesn't take anything to get me off of Tony Finau. So that's
but Tony Finau's at 22-1, and Sung J M is also at 22-1. That's the guy I'm betting on. Sung J M at 22 is a lock. Lock it in. Sung J is going to compete for this trophy.
Disagree, because I think Minwoo Lee over the last 24 rounds, there is no one playing better golf than Minwoo Lee over the last 24 rounds. Like, I'm sorry.
What has he won?
He let's see. Didn't he won in?
He won the Australian PGA.
Yeah, which is not the point. The point is that he won, but the point of his stats, though, when you look at him, he's number 1 around the greens. He's number 1 in putting. He's number 2 in bogey avoidance. He's number 2 in strokes gained par 5. He's number 7 off the tee. And as demonstrated last year at the US Open, he grinds. Like, he can grind. So he's already in form, and he's a grinder. I love him.
Did he win the US Open? Because I must have missed it.
Yeah. That's not the point.
If I'm betting Minwoo Lee to win, I was expecting him in the 30 to 35 range. Honestly, I'm no disrespect to the player. I love the player. He's an absolute machine out there. But for me to bet on a guy who has never won a PGA Tour event to win this PGA Tour event, I need better odds than 22-1. That's just me. Or 20-1 now. It's just way too short for me.
I'm here for it. I think he's got every chance in the world to win. There is no one playing better golf right this second than him.
I don't know if he's got the approach game, though. I mean, off the tee, he's awesome. Around the green, he's iffy. His long approach game.
Wedge-wise, he's great. And like getting up and down, he's great. Putting, he's number 2 in this field.
Yeah, approach, though, for me, it's like, for what he didn't pop up an approach for me, and I had it weighted heavier, obviously, than you. He was still top 15 in my model. There's no way I could hate on Minwoo Lee here. I just hate the odds. Love the golfer. Love him for scoring other formats. Hate the odds.
Well, I had to come full circle. You asked if it was Finau or Minwoo. For me, it's Minwoo.
That's an easy one. Yeah, sorry. Jason Day, 25-1. I'm kind of fading off of Jason Day. I heard through the grapevine that you were fading Keegan Bradley in DFS. Is that also true on the betting slip? He's got some incredible course history here for 35-1. And as far as long iron ball strikers, he's as good as it gets.
I am going to fade him here, and it's a scary fade.
Just embrace it. Come on. Come to the dark side where we bet on Keegan Bradley at Torrey Pines, because it just feels good.
I think that there is a lot of validity to it. Like, truly, I think that. But over the last 24 rounds, which is how I ran my model, worst in fairways gained, almost worst in par 4 scoring. And he was 114th in bogey avoidance. Like,
is that bad?
It's not great. It's not optimal.
Yeah, I didn't weight bogey avoidance, honestly. I didn't think it correlated well to the other stats I was running. So therein lies the difference. Wouldn't you say?
It's definitely showing now as we're going through these. But yeah, Keegan Bradley, I get it. Like, I just have I took a different angle on how I was approaching the stats this week. And so I don't have a strong argument, because Keegan Bradley does set up the golfer. He does set up pretty well for here. And I wouldn't fault you for playing that.
Okay, so we're both in agreement on fading Sahith Theegala, and of course the demands good tee shots. Short game's outstanding. Approach has been much improved, but off the tee, this guy is a spray and pray type of player. Does not line up well for thick, rough, and oak trees around every turn, especially when he's not a bomber per se. He's a longer hitter, but not a bomber. So he can't get away with those wayward tee shots like some of these other guys with distance. Eric Cole, pretty interesting at 35, but I think we're both in agreement that Sahith Theegala is a fade. Am I right?
Theegala is a fade. If you want to read about Eric Cole and why I'm going to bet him, you can check out my column. I know Bo, in a nutshell, a big reason Bo is going to probably be off Eric Cole this week is strokes gained off the tee.
Off the tee, he is very bad. Very, very, very. He's a bad man, Jerry.
So one of us is on him, one of us is not. If you want to know why I'm on him, go read the column.
Because except for off the tee, here's a spoiler. Except for off the tee metrics, this dude is top 5 in everything else. that's the spoiler. Sorry. You should also instead of just taking my word for it, go to in-betweenmedia.com and see for yourself.
All kinds of good information there. But the guy that I'm probably most interested in getting down just a little bit, and this is I don't do this a ton. Well, there's two right here.
He says this before he says something that he does all the damn time.
No, I don't do this. This one I don't do very often. But I think Will Zalatoris at 50-1. I saw something with Will Zalatoris.
I want to believe. I want to believe Willie Z.
And
I need him. I need him to win.
I'm watching him play, and I sent Bo a message, and I'm like, "We are betting Will Zalatoris."
And guess what? Top 5 in my model, no matter how I ran it. I can't wait to bet Willie Z. Incredible course history. He's got beef to settle on this course from 2 years ago. This dude is ready to go. This course is demanding of iron play. There's nobody more pure with an iron than Morikawa and Will Zalatoris. The sound that their shots make on approach it's not the same. It's just different.
And with Willie Z, the reason I said I don't do this very often is right now it's purely an eye test. Like just being somebody who watches
50-1 is the perfect eye test. Show me what you got betting line.
It is, but as we're watching him play, and the point I'm trying to get to is as we're watching him play, the ball striking was 100% back, at least for the majority of the rounds I watched him play. The putter, this new putter he's rocking, which is one of the I think it's Lab Golf or something like that.
Yeah, he's doing the long putter.
But anyways, his putting stroke was one of the most cringeworthy things to watch on the
vomit inducing.
But it was fairly flat-lined out. I mean, very, very straight, consistent putts from him. He was actually making putts.
You can't do that weird figure 8 motion zigzag with a long putter. It's physically impossible.
So I'm lining up to be early on him because I think Will Zalatoris is on the verge of a resurgence back to his full form. And if we get full form Will Zalatoris here in quick resolve, then we're going to see him competing in a lot of tournaments this year. So I think we're primed and ready to rock.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
And then my other one,
go.
We were early, and it looked like it might pay off actually. But Daniel Berger, I think people somehow don't remember how damn good Daniel Berger is at golf.
For a short hitter, this dude is as accurate and precise with the rest of the bag as it gets. Like this guy's iron play, short game, putting, outstanding. He's just a shorter hitter, and he has to rely on accuracy and planning and doing everything else right because he's at a severe disadvantage at a course like this. However, what he does on courses of this length, despite his distance, is incredible. Like Daniel Berger's got every bit of chops to take this thing down. And I'm a little bit skittish to bet him because I haven't seen it yet. Like we saw it with Zalatoris last week. I didn't see it from Berger no matter how he finished because he was not putting it together all the way for me.
Well, did you have to see it? He went 68, 68, 67, 68. It wasn't like...
Yeah, but there were 63s out there all week, and he didn't get a single sub-60
years.
Exactly, and I think Torrey Pines is going to chew him up. Honestly.
I don't think so, because I will say this about Berger. Obviously, a lot of sharp people are catching on because he opened at 70. He's all the way down to 55. I wrote my column yesterday, and he's already 15 points. And on top of that, like Daniel Berger is somebody who you and I historically would line up to play in tougher courses, tougher fields.
I know. I love it. I'm skittish.
Go bet him.
Skittish.
Go bet him.
I'm betting Justin Rose instead. 2019 Farmers Insurance Champion. I know you disagree, but Justin Rose has fallen from 35-1 to 75-1. they all apparently agree with you. Nobody's betting on Justin Rose, but I was ready to bet him at 50-1. Now he's at 75, and that's an insult to a guy this good and this consistent. Connor, give me the stats. Give me the stats.
I mean, is he though? It's not like Justin Rose is ever going to be a bad golfer, but I mean, off the tee over the last 24, he's 123rd. Bogey avoidance, he's 98th. But I think what's throwing a lot of models and why he's popping for a lot of people is he does have some good history, especially on the West Coast.
Par 4 and par 5 scoring.
Putting stats,
short game,
par 5, and his around the green game is good. So
long iron approach, outstanding.
I get it. I get it. I just, in that range, it's just not for me.
Okay. Even at 75, that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, because there's guys in there that I like better at that range. I mean, honestly,
wow.
I like Luke List a hell of a lot better.
Ugh.
And List is a few points less.
70-1. As long as you don't say Taylor Montgomery, because that's just dumb. Like, don't bet Taylor Montgomery this week. He's going to miss the cut. If you can bet on Taylor Montgomery to miss the cut, it's probably just negative odds. Honestly.
Yeah, you should go get that one. But no, I think realistically, if you're looking for somebody in that range, like
I just can't do Luke List. I can't do it, and I'm mad because he tempted me this week because everything lines up for him here, and his improved putting. I'm still worried about his short game, like around the green game, is still not very good. His putting's improved, but his ball striking is incredible. Obviously, off the tee and on approach, he's amazing. But I can't do it. I was tempted. I will say that I was tempted to do just a fuck it, let's play Luke List week, but I'm just not there.
I don't know. I can't argue Luke List with you again for yet another week, but the points you typically bring up a Luke List, I just are not current day Luke List. His approach game's excellent. Off the tee game has been great. He's been competing in everything he tees it up in. The putter is, again, for Luke List, very good. Like flat putter, very good for Luke List.
Yeah.
So and we've got the history here. He likes to play here. Yeah, I think Luke List in that range is probably a far better deal. But we do have to try and get to some DFS tonight.
Yeah, eventually. Who are your long shots? I have a couple.
So my biggest ones, I'm going back to the well on Ryo Hasasuni. He showed up and balled out again last week. And I think the big stat that keeps hanging in my head, because we don't have a lot of strokes gain data yet, is you got to remember this is a guy that has won a tournament, finished third place, and has 8 top 10s in the last calendar year on the DP World Tour. And now he's over here making a ton of noise, including competing last week. 7 under in his final round to finish 23 under. It's not like this guy's a slouch. He's an accurate bomber with an excellent game.
Got game.
Yeah, at 100-1, I love Hisatsune again.
Hisatsune for the win. Let's go, Rio. I'll co-sign that. I'm also looking at Matt Wallace at 130-1. Just an outstanding player on long courses, especially on approach. Didn't really have any weak spots, and Sam Stevens had no weak spots. He's at 180-1. Sam Stevens is as electric as it gets. He's a birdie making machine. Can he avoid bogeys? That remains to be seen. But this guy's a scoring machine on tough long courses. Everything in the model says this guy's a top 10 player in my pool. So the odds at 181 make no sense to me. And I'm going to root for and throw a couple bucks on our guy, friend of the show, and brain lesion survivor, Gary Woodland.
I love that.
He's got course history here. He's hungry to show that he's back from his very scary medical ordeal that's been in the news. Gary Woodland at 200-1 with his history here. That's insanity to me. That seems like an easy top 20 bet, make the cut bet. Whatever you can do to put some money on Gary Woodland's success, it'll make you feel good on the inside.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Gary Woodland, just salt of the earth guy, and I can't wait to see him getting back to full
He's
form.
a fucking survivor, is what he is.
What a solid dude. So yeah, I'm all in. That's a I've done way dumber shit with $5. So
right, $5 to pay was at $2,000.
Yeah,
I can't do math.
Go ahead and book that.
But
yeah,
$1,000.
So
$1,000 for Gary Woodland off $5. I'll do that.
For anybody wanting more betting advice, Bo has some columns up at Betting Pros. I've got a column up that I dropped in the chat. So there's a few more insights.
Like how much awesome winning do you actually want? Because there's lots of it here.
Your computer may explode. There's going to be so much fucking awesomeness.
Boom. All right, let's try not to slam any trunks. We do have to get out of here eventually. Let's do the DFS covers. Leverage, not as important this week. Imagine that.
Play the good plays.
The club as well. This would be a wrestling plan.
I cut you off so hardcore there. I didn't think you were going to have two sentences. I hit it right after the first sentence and you just kept going. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I got booted from my own damn show. I can't say it's the first time.
So like I was going to compliment your statement with play the good plays, as they say.
Yeah. Sorry you had to miss that, guys.
Yeah, it was very profound. So write it down.
So
sage wisdom.
Xander's chalky. Who cares, right? Play Xander.
Yeah, you definitely need Xander in your player pool, I think. Morikawa is going to be where I start. I mean, I am just
chalky as well, but worth it again.
So utterly convinced that he's going to win this week. You just have to have.
Last time we agreed that Colin Morikawa was going to win. What happened, Connor?
If memory serves, Colin Morikawa won.
Imagine that. So, yeah, what are the Colin Morikawa whisperers?
One of our many hits last year.
Yeah, we're the whisperers.
So what's interesting about this field, though, and we won't go down this rabbit hole because this is what we always do, and then we don't talk about the tiered plays. But what is really interesting is that there are a lot of ways that you can have two of these guys above 10K and still have a really respectable lineup. So what I'm doing that's probably slightly riskier, but I am doing a lot of Morikawa Homa, Morikawa Schauffele as my starting spots. So, and a big part of why I'm able to do that, and we'll get down there, is there hold on. So, but yeah, in the top 10K, those are probably the three that I'm looking at. I really don't have a whole lot of interest in Cantlay. I really don't have much interest in Sungjae. I don't see him having the scoring output that these other guys are going to have, or the winning upside, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. We didn't talk at all about Ludwig Oberg. I think his line was way too short in the betting side to even consider with how he's been playing this season. Obviously, he's got a very bright future ahead of him. This course, of course, fits his type of play pretty well, but his form has been pretty off this year so far, and I don't think this is the place where you can just roll in and get right. But I think 9,700 is pretty respectable even then, because he does have upside. If he gets hot, there's not many guys out there that you trust to make birdies on a really tough course like him.
I think what's red flagging me about Oberg this week is he gains the majority of his strokes off the tee. He's number 3 in the field off the tee, which makes sense. Long ball hitter, pretty accurate driver. But where he tends to give strokes back, which is equally critical, is on approach. And specifically, it's getting into those shorter approach distances and some of the scrambling and around the green stats that he's not stellar at. And the putter, he's in the top 25, so he's got a stout enough putter on him. But I don't think he can get it done 100% with the driver this week. I think you're going to have to be able to hit some irons. And it's like I've been about him. He's just not there with the irons yet. He's just not elite with the irons.
Right.
So
I would agree. All right, move on down. Same suspects that we're looking at here. Since it's tough here because you get down into the 8s and the low 9s. You got Finau here, who's got lots of upside, but we're both off of. Minwoo Lee is probably going to be a really appealing pick, but also pretty chalky at 9,100. That's one I'm concerned about. Chalk. I want him in my pool, of course, because he's a scoring machine, but I don't know how much exposure I'll get of Minwoo Lee because of the chalk and the price.
So I'm looking at the rostership projections right now, and as it sits, it's Finau and Keegan Bradley that are the chalk of that range.
Okay.
And so Minwoo at 13%, Eric Cole at 13%.
Oh, that's not bad.
But I think that they're low percentage like that because of the pricing. Like when you look at the guys around him, like $9,100 for Minwoo. I love Minwoo in the outright market. Like I really, really think Minwoo could win too. But $9,100 in DFS, that is way more risk than you need to take on. Like there are way better plays in the 8s that could score you potentially the same amount of points. So I think where my stance is with Minwoo and Eric Cole both this week is I'm gonna go outright with them, and I'm not gonna try and roster them. I just like the guys up in the 10s too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. So where do you go from there? Like if you let's say you pass on Minwoo in a lineup, who's your next go-to in that range?
Well, in that range, I'm not rostering much in that range. I go into the 8s. Okay. And I go actually kind of far down the 8s.
Yeah, in kind of tournament, like single entry tournaments and cash games, don't be afraid to play Keegan Bradley here. I think that's a solid play. But in those tournaments where he's going to be pretty popular because he pops in everybody's model, including mine, you might get into a bigger tournament where you want to just let him go and go down to the lower 8s, like your boy Connor here, who's going to have a lot of Daniel Berger and Will Zalatoris at the bottom of the 8s. The mid 8s are looking pretty solid too. I wouldn't turn myself off of Sepp Straka here. Nikolai Højgaard has lots of upside, and then of course Justin Rose, who we're not in agreement here for the betting side, but you can't argue that Justin Rose, who's I haven't seen very high ownership projections for him this week. His odds have slipped super far. His pricing at DFS has been pretty suppressed, and so 8,300 for Rose. I think that's a really solid play. But yeah, I can understand Connor going after those two guys in the low 8s.
Right. Your Colin Rose is actually pretty solid for DFS purposes. I see no winning upside with Rose, but at 8,300, he's absolutely consistent enough.
Did you see winning upside on him in 2019? Huh? Huh?
2019 that happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
By my math, yeah.
And if Tiger Woods was playing 5 years ago today in this tournament, we would all be betting Tiger Woods.
Yeah, because we're not dumb. He won here like 8 times.
but being real for a minute. So Justin Rose, I don't think is a bad play. I'm not knocking that play at DFS Bo. Like I think it's a decent play. And in the high 8s, I would rather play Harris English than Keegan Bradley. I think Harris English is in better form right now, and I think Harris English has the ability to get much hotter with the short game than Keegan Bradley does. So that's just my preference. If you're playing somebody in the high 8s, he's also coming in at half the ownership. So
yeah,
but
I would agree with that. But Harris English is American, not English.
Højgaard, you hit one of the guys that I'm pretty big on. He's projected at only 5.5%. He's been on a really nice run.
I just watch a highlight reel of his drives, like Nikolai Højgaard driving highlights. It's that sound. Like, how does his club make that sound on impact? I have no idea.
Well, there is some validity to like some of the bombs away type of mentalities here too. So
it does work. It does work if you have the short game to back it up.
he's in my pool for sure. Like he rated out really well for me, but the majority of my ownership is, and this works out really, really well. Berger at 8,100, 4.8 projected. Zalatoris, 8,000 flat, 9.2 projected. And then Seabez, who showed up massively last week, 4% projected. It also at 8 flat. So
that was a good call by us last week, wasn't it? Yeah. Christian Bezadenhout.
Occasionally.
Christian Bezadenhout, every once in a while, will pop in your model, and you don't ignore Bez when he pops in your model, because he's a crafty bugger, and he got the big payout as the runner-up since the amateur forfeited his check. The payout, 1.4 mil, went to Christian Bezadenhout. That's a good payday. I didn't win, but I still got the winner's check. Not too shabby.
Realistically, though, we both kind of thought he had a shot, and he was right there.
He was there. He had a chance at the end.
But the most important part about why I'm targeting that low 8, like the 8,100 and down to about 7,800, is that does allow you to double stack the 10K. So if you believe as adamantly as I do that it's
don't you just love when that works?
So really easy to build solid rosters in this low 8s and get really solid like quality out of it. Like anything from Rose down to honestly Luke List at 7,800. So 8,300 down to 7,800. Almost every.
And I'm on Jaeger too. I'm on Jaeger, who's the same price as List. And then I'm also on Svensson, 7,600. That's a great price on him. And some of these Canadians, shout out to Canada. Some of the Canadians here are just solid on the West Coast. They just do it. Like some of these Canadians, like Svensson, love playing in California. They have great form in California.
I don't think our Canadian friends are on, because that might be the first time that you've talked about shout out Canada, and we see no movement in the chat. They must not be on.
Man.
We'll have to.
They'll watch the replay and they'll be cheering. They'll be cheering even though it's a replay. Ryo Hisatsune at 7,500.
Dial it up.
Yeah. And this is one of the rare occasions where we're not going to recommend Akshay Bhatia. Off the tee game just doesn't cut it, especially on a place of this length. He's a short course assassin. His approach game on short approach is as good as it gets, but on a longer course, we haven't seen it from him yet. So fade Akshay Bhatia at cost and go down to Ryo Hisatsune. What a price. I don't care if he's over 10% owned at that price. I'm going full blast.
He's sub 10 right now. He's at 8%.
He's going to be 8,500 next week. That's my call. Pebble Beach, Ryo Hisatsune is going to be 8,500 plus.
God, you and I have been on him forever. We need to get Seth and the editors people to dig up our original clip about Ryo.
He's going to be like, Konnichiwa, bitches.
And now we have racism on our top 5 of.
That's not racist. That's Japanese.
It's stereotyping.
All he said was a Japanese word.
We're doing bad tonight.
Rough crowd. All right. Yeesh. Taylor Pendrith, any interest?
No, and to be honest, I didn't spend
anti-Canada.
I didn't spend a ton of time much past about I didn't spend a ton of time down here because I didn't have to. Like I kind of ended right around that. I think my lowest price, Ben Coles is my lowest. It's 7K, and I have a lot of him. So
Ben Coles cash. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot down here. Gary Woodland, a fun pick for tournaments. We already mentioned Matt Wallace and Sam Stevens. Those are my lower guys. So we already talked about that. Winning score. Carl. Yes. He's definitely in the pool for his price. How he hasn't risen in price with his recent form, beyond me.
Beyond me. That's as low as I go, though. I just wanted to throw that one out there because that's somebody that we have been playing each week, and he is in great form, continues to improve week on week on week, and has kind of been surprisingly in the hunt.
I got one for you. I just added him to the pool
Dylan Wu
yesterday. No, not Dylan Wu. For rare on Dylan Wu week for me. But Alejandro Tosti, the Argentinian, popped for me. So he's going in the pool. Excited to say that name so that if he does make noise at Torrey Pines, you can come back to the show because I said Alejandro Tosti.
One of our South Dakota listeners played Toasty the last couple of weeks, including last week, and actually had a nice return on his
exactly
weekend. So Toasty pays.
Toasty pays. Toasty is a great one. All right. I still have the white chalkboard. It's right here. It's right here.
He's got Fluffy up on the board now.
Yeah. It's still the same board. Gosh. It's the rough crowd, like I said.
It's the most insulted I've ever seen you over your whiteboard.
So,
good Lord.
Winning score, your boy for the second week in a row nailed it. Hey.
Well, what's your winning score here? Because for the fourth week in a row, your boy kicked the shit out of all y'all in DFS again. So,
yeah. The DFS gods have been very friendly to you the last year and a half.
Is it that, or is it that I'm good? It might be.
Oh, you're definitely good, but I'm good too. I beat other people, and I just don't beat you very often.
That's what makes this show great. We're both good.
It should be commended that we're both really good at this, and that we're helping people apparently by airing the show.
Fantasy golf, show of the year. We're start our campaign
with.
now.
The wetter weather in San Diego recently, I think scoring will be a little bit better. Softer greens equal more chances to avoid bogeys and make birdie chances happen, especially on a course where these greens are pretty tough to hold as it is. Getting a little bit extra grip on those approach shots is going to be important. I'll say 15 under.
We are in alignment. I'm going to say 15 as well.
Nice. Let's hope we're both right. And of course, it's unanimous. Colin Morikawa, that's the person we're agreeing on is going to be the winner. Let's say Colin doesn't quite win. Maybe he's a top 5 and pays us anyway. Who's your alternate?
Oh, Daniel Berger.
Woo, that's spicy. I will say it's going to be Justin Rose. Honestly, it's going to be wild.
I should say it with more conviction because I do think Daniel Berger has a real shot at winning.
I want to see it because we both have him in various things. So Daniel Berger, we will hope that comes true. I just love to see the guys who got way better odds than they should come out and show why the odds makers were wrong. That's what I want to see Justin Rose do this week. All right. Next week, they're going up to NorCal. They're going to be right in my backyard. Well, 2.5 hours away. But Pebble Beach, it's the tournament, the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am next week on In Between Media. From Connor in South Dakota to me in NorCal, this has been the 19th hole. Like and subscribe. Join us next week. Let's hit the drop.